We just want to do a coach's video on intentional grounding, kind of clear up some misconceptions about it, and then look at some plays involving the intentional grounding. First, let's look at the rule. There's actually two distinct scenarios for this rule. You can have no receiver in the area thrown pass, which is one we see most often, or you can have a pass intentionally thrown only to conserve time or yardage. Remember, these are two distinct scenarios for this rule. You don't have to have both. You can have either or in order to violate the rule. So here's one we're going to look at. This has been brought to us. Hey, maybe this is intentional grounding. But as we look at it, I think this is more closely just a backward pass. It looks like he pretty much, you could use some judgment that he's intentionally throwing this ball away to conserve yardage. But with him actually throwing it backwards, your better ruling is a backward fumble, backward pass, or whatever. You can see it more clearly here. I think they ruled forward progress, which if that's the case, that would be incorrect. This should be a backward pass rather than an intentional grounding. It is hard to tell though from that angle if he's actually trying to throw it or if that's just kind of the force of the defender's throw. But you see from the arm angle there, it looks like a clear intent to throw the ball. So that should have been a backward pass or fumble rather than intentional grounding. So another clip from the same game, and this is one we most often see intentional grounding and one we kind of equate more. Quarterback's under duress and he's just going to throw into an area where there is no receiver. You can see where the ball lands, there's not an eligible receiver anywhere near. So this should have been intentional grounding. And one thing to note on intentional grounding is this is very much a crew call. It's not just a referee, it's not the wing or a deep guy. It's very much a crew call. So you watch the referee here, he's focusing on his quarterback, and he's taking the quarterback all the way down to the ground. So in an instant like this, you really need a deep or a wing. Most likely this wing. They kind of come in, tell the referee, or get on the radio and tell the referee, hey, there's no receiver in the area. Do you think we have intentional grounding? And the referee deems, hey, he was just throwing the ball away. We go ahead and drop the flag. It's one instance where a late flag is not always a bad thing. You can see clearly here, there's no receiver in the area whatsoever. So we talk about this being very much a crew call. Let's look at a couple. You have a quarterback running, he's in duress, and he's just going to lob the ball out of bounds. Now you have two receivers in the area, but this is a pass that's intentionally thrown out of bounds just to conserve yardage. So for that instance, you would need intentional grounding. And I believe they correctly called this. I think if you back up, the coach pointing, saying there's a receiver in the area, but it doesn't always matter. If it's intentionally thrown to conserve time, then it is intentional grounding. I'm trying to get to where it doesn't show it. The referee does actually run over and drops flag where the ball was thrown. And then at that point it's up to the wings or the deeps or whoever to communicate, hey, there was a guy in the area, or no, there was not. And at that point they can talk about it. Here's an instance where the referee believes it to be intentional grounding, just throwing the ball to conserve yardage. And then there's going to be a crew conference where they actually pick the flag up. You see they're talking about it. then the referee is going to wave the flag off. This is an incorrect call, I believe. I think this should have been intentional grounding, but it's on the it's on the crew. The referee threw it. He believed it to be intentional grounding, and the crew came over and taught them out of it. That's not on the referee. The referee's just going off the information he's given and making a decision on that. But in this case, I believe the crew got it wrong. So we've had two different instances where crew talks one out of it, and then we're going to see one here and see it best from the end zone view, where the referee's going to throw his flag. And we don't see it in this video, but the wing comes in and tries to talk him out of it, send the receiver in the area, but the referee stays on it. This would also be an incorrect call for intentional grounding. There you definitely see a receiver, number 22. He's definitely an eligible receiver in the area. He's even actually turned toward the quarterback when the ball's thrown. Not that that matters. The rule does not stipulate the receiver has to be facing the quarterback. The rule just stipulates the receiver needs to be in the area. So the quarterback's going to come under duress, and he's going to dump the ball, and it's going to hit the feet of the receiver. Flag was thrown for intentional grounding. The referee, in his judgment, believed that the ball was thrown intentionally to conserve yardage. It's definitely within the scope of the rule. That's his judgment. He's backed up by rule to do that. But I think in this instance we're wrong. This should have been just a legal play rather than intentional grounding. But it's very much a crew call, not just one official. In this last play, this one looks a little more cut and dry. Here we don't have any receiver in the area and a ball just intentionally thrown to conserve yardage and time. And the referee's going to walk over there. You're not going to see in the film, but the referee walked over there and dropped his flag. So I hope that clears some things up on intentional grounding. Just remember the two distinct scenarios of the rule: no receiver in the area and pass intentionally thrown to conserve yardage or time.